What's up, everyone? I hope you all had a great weekend. At the time this episode airs, I'll be on a flight to Moncton, New Brunswick for can weld with my buddy Max Saran with the CWB Association podcast. I'm really looking forward to this trip. It should be a lot of fun. I've never been to Canada, so it should make for an interesting trip. Joining me this week is my buddy Dusty James from Pacific Arc Tig Welding. Dusty and I have formed a great friendship over the past couple of years. We both quit our day jobs right around the same time and bet on ourselves to do life on our own terms. In this episode, we catch up on what we've been up to the past year. We talk about some of the pros and cons of running your own business, what we've been doing in our free time. We talk about welding and welding training, and we also chat about Dusty's new online welding program. We'll get right into the show after a quick word from our supporters. Today's episode of the Arc Junkies Podcast is brought to you by Rockmount Research and Alloys. You've heard all about Rockmount's amazing rods and wires, but did you know they carry a full line of off-trail hoods and papper systems? As welders, we operate in some of the toughest environments, welding on steel, aluminum, and other base metals, cutting, grinding, blending, and polishing. Everything we do produces either dust, particulates, or fumes. Protect your lungs and your career by investing in the highest quality equipment. I recently purchased a Swiss Air system from Rockmount that's made by Optrel. With all the welding, cutting, and grinding I'm either doing myself or in the vicinity of, I finally broke down and pulled the trigger on a papper system to give myself more protection while performing the work that I love. Rockmount is the national demonstration partner of Optrel. You can contact them today to schedule a demo for your shop to see if their hoods and papper systems are right for you and your team. And as always, if you buy $250 or more on rockmountwelding.com, you can get a free 1-pound tube of Tartan AAA when you use AJP at checkout. Get the job done right the first time, every time with Rockmount. We're also brought to you by CK Worldwide. Are you tired of settling for subpar TIG welding equipment? Look no further than CK Worldwide, the industry leader in innovative and reliable TIG welding solutions. CK has more patents on product design and improvements than anyone else, and they set the standard for TIG welding. Whether you're a professional welder or a welding hobbyist, their exclusive innovations like gas saver kits, max flow water cooling technology, wedge collets, they make your TIG welding process smoother and more efficient than ever before. And now, CK is excited to announce the launch of their new MT375, a 375 amp AC/DC TIG welder with a dual water pump cooler, cart, torch package, and more. This new powerful welding machine is packed with a newly patented 2-in-1 steady grip foot pedal that incorporates a fingertip control into a foot pedal for a variety of different applications. Don't settle for subpar equipment. Choose CK Worldwide to experience quality and performance. With a reputation built on decades of experience and dedication to innovation, CK Worldwide is the only choice for top-of-the-line TIG welding equipment. Visit ckworldwide.com and use the Find a Dealer tab to locate a dealer closest to you. We're also brought to you by Outlaw Leather. Dive into the world of Outlaw Leather, where it's not just about crafting welding accessories, but fashioning quality gear for your welding journey. Each item they produce tells a tale, meticulously handcrafted for those who dare to stand out. Embrace the fusion of passion and precision with Outlaw's unique leather welding hoods, offering unmatched protection with a touch that resonates your journey. Revel in unparalleled comfort with their leather arm pads, a testament to their dedication in blending practicality with craftsmanship. And for our iron workers out there that are shaping the world, find your perfect match in bolt bags, rod pouches, and scabbards. Every tool deserves its spot, and with Outlaw's keen eye for attention to detail, you won't miss a beat. And Outlaw has a deal exclusively for Arc Junkies podcast listeners. You can enjoy 15% discount off all in-stock handmade leather goods when you use Arc Junkies in the discount box at checkout when you shop outlawleather.com. Step into a legacy with Outlaw Leather. All right, y'all know what time it is. Fire up your machine, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
Thank you for downloading show number 298 of the Arc Junkies Podcast.
You're listening to the Arc Junkies Podcast, helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
Dusty, what's up, brother? How you been?
Hey, buddy, how are you? This is awesome. I'm stoked.
I know it's been like we get to chat via WhatsApp all the time with the little voice messages, but we never like make a phone call or anything like that or do like a video chat.
Why don't we?
I don't know. Well, I think because the voicemail chat just works so good because of our schedules. I mean, hell, just you're 3 hours away, or I'm 3 hours away, depending on which way you want to look at it. You know, we're 3 different time zones away from each other. So our schedules are completely all over the place. I know you've been traveling quite a bit, doing some stuff.
Yeah, not like you've been traveling and stuff for like work related stuff. I've just been kind of
screwing off. Yeah, no, that's good. You need to, man. We've talked about that on previous episodes. Like you've got to make time for yourself. Otherwise, what the hell's the point in destroying yourself at work all the time?
No, fully, man. I mean, like the big one is actually what we're coming up to here. So my wife's from Australia. So we went to Australia with our first kid when she was a year and a half, took her there. And then we actually tried to plan a return trip once we had our little boy, but we've had to cancel it twice, once because of stupid COVID. And then the second time last season, they had these crazy projections for like all these, crazy floods. And it was all in the areas that we were going to go. And we were like, fuck, do we do it? So we ended up canceling. And sure enough, it did have crazy floods in all the areas that we were supposed to go to. So it was the best decision, I guess. But
yeah, it worked out.
This time we're doing it. We're going at the end of November and we're going for 2 months.
Damn.
And we're just,
You guys in places other than like the United States, you guys know how to holiday right. Like we get a week off, maybe 2 weeks if you got a solid job. But like I know people in Canada, folks out in Europe, I mean, they go on holiday. They take the month off and it's like, holy shit, how do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you do, right? Like I worked in it was like a privately owned shop for, my career. And we were I topped out basically at 3 weeks. My wife works for like the hospital association here and they get bucket loads. It's crazy, man. Like it's pretty sweet. A lot of places do hook you up with crazy stuff, and now that you and I run our own businesses, it's like taking time off is a severe risk.
Yeah. I was going to say it's harder to take time off now that I work for myself than it ever was working for anybody else. And I could take off as much time as I want to give myself, but I'm going to be shooting myself in the foot, Yep.
Yeah. That's the thing, man. It's such an investment and you got to strategically play your calendar, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm taking 2 months to go travel, but so my current schedule has me essentially making at least 2 YouTube episodes a week right now, hopefully 3. And then I bank 2 or.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? What the fuck just happened? Okay, can you hear me? Okay, I don't know what the hell just happened. It just went. I was like, "Oh,
dude!"
shit.
It sounded like a demon didgeridoo or something like that.
Damn, I just got scared because I've been traveling with this thing, so I'm hoping everything's good with my board. Yeah, you were saying.
Oh yeah, so the schedule of trying to bank 1 to 2 episodes that I put down the line. So essentially, I'm coming up with all that, my episodes. I'm creating YouTube shorts, TikTok, and all this stuff at the same time. But yeah, scheduling them out 2 months down the road. And essentially, my goal is to hit the road with the family, still have my YouTube things go, do my work with my students online, remote. And basically I'm going to work the whole time, but I'll just have to kind of front end load with this, with the YouTube production at this point.
That's the nice thing. You can schedule it ahead of time to be released while you're gone, the days that you're traveling and all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm still going to do lots of Instagram and stuff while I'm gone. Obviously lots of stories, lots of posting and whatnot. And, I don't know, man. It's crazy. To be able to, on one hand, you and I have freedom owning our own business, but on the other hand, like we talk about, it's a risk. You take time away from what you're doing, things die really quick. So if you have any kind of momentum going, especially on YouTube, that platform, it's dependent on you feeding the machine, right?
Yeah.
So if you pull away, like that shit starts to go downhill real fast. So that's my goal, is to just keep it going. Obviously work my ass off with my students online as much as possible. Yeah, that's the plan right now. And so far it's going well.
Yes. That's two of the things that I learned with, talking to other people that own their own businesses. One of my buddies, when I was in the Marines, like he owned a business prior to going into the Marines. He's worked for his dad pretty much his whole life. And his dad was always like self-employed. And he told me, he's like, dude, you never own a business. The business owns you. And then one of my mentors, when I was, in welding and everything way after the military, he told me, like, if you're going to go into business, you got to understand, if you're going to build a monster, you got to feed a monster. So those were like two things that I've never forgotten, especially when I went to go out on my own and do my own thing. If you're going to build a monster, you got to be able to feed it. And you don't own the business. Like now I'm tied to my business schedule, because when it's like, oh man, I don't have anything scheduled for next Thursday. I don't have any classes planned out, no inspections that I have to do. I don't have to test anybody. All the podcasts are ready. I'm taking next Thursday off. And then like the next day, I'll get a phone call. Hey man, like we're in a bind. Like how soon can you get here? Shit. How's next Thursday sound?
It's like a constant, like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's like you have time off, of time available for, like yesterday, I was trying to do the brakes. Actually, no, it started a couple of weeks ago. I was trying to do the brakes in my wife's car.
Don't get distracted while you're doing that.
I'll totally do it tomorrow. And then like, it's just every day, man, it's like some kind of shit came up, and it took me like 2 weeks to get them done. And it was like yesterday I did it, and it was like an hour and a half. I was like, it wasn't even that much time, but like to be able to do that, man, is like, it's hard. Cause yeah, it's like time is a currency when you run your own business.
Yeah.
And when you have time to spend, like that shit gets spent pretty quickly. And if you're not careful, it can get spent on the wrong things very easily. So it's, but dude, it's awesome. Like this, I mean, you and I have been doing our own business for over a year now, right? You're past the 1 year.
Yeah. So August 6th was my last day at my former employer. So I guess the following Monday would have been my first day of, completely self-employed. And I've started another business since then.
Yeah. I mean, you started your own thing, right? It's like, it's way more work up front, I feel like, but the investment is worth it. Like, because it is an investment that
for sure.
You build a business, and you build like a brand, and especially you and I, we both do it online too, which is an even weirder thing.
Yeah.
It's a shitload of work. It's a shitload of pressure, mental like pressure. But yeah, man, you've seen how things grow. It's crazy, right?
Oh, it's nuts. And that was the thing. Like I left traditional education just to do the podcast full time. That was going to be like my thing. And then my buddy and I, we had like this kind of idea on the back burner to eventually start our own short-term welding training center and everything. And we'd kick the idea back and forth here and there, every couple of weeks or whatever. It's like, yeah, we got to get started on that, and then he's like, if we're going to do this, we need to start working on it now. And I was like, well, shit, that was November that year. And then like we started getting bids and quotes on like, what it's going to cost for equipment and tables, and finding a place we could lease the building and shit. And then like my buddy found the place. And then it just so happened that Stephanie called up, and she was like, hey, I'm like, everybody's heard the story. Like, I'm going to sell my business. We ended up and bought it. And the next thing you know, man, like July, like, holy shit, I'm running a freaking welding school. But I mean, that was never my intent when I did it. It was just another business that I started. But again, you just got to feed that beast, Yeah. And a lot of the currency for that is time, like you said, because a lot of that, I have to do a lot of things that there's no compensation for, setting up the building. I'm not getting paid for that. Paying the lease for the first couple of months till we can get students in the building. There's no ROI on that, Dude,
it's like, especially when you have the currency of time and money to put up front, that's next level. Like that's ballsy. I mean, you knew like you guys were going to do a great job of it. Like when you told me about that right off the get, I was like, oh, this is going to be sweet. But like, that's a long time to like put money out for a lease on stuff, and nothing's coming in. It's like,
it's scary.
You watch, you have a reserve fund or whatever of capital that you're going to use, and that starts to be depleted relatively quick and like
very
quicker
fast
than you would imagine, I guess.
Oh, especially when you're buying building materials. Yeah, it goes fast.
Oh man,
It's like, oh yeah, we need especially like running the electrical. It's like, oh, we got to buy all this cable. How can we make the run shorter? Because this stuff's like $3.50 a foot, due to the number of wires that you have to put in the conduit. And then, oh yeah, by the way, you got to buy the conduit, and then you got to buy the fuse panel. And hey, I would have never guessed it, but fuse panels don't come with the fuses already in them. You got to buy a breaker for every single line that you need, and it's a different fee. Depending on, you need a 20 amp breaker, you need a 30 amp breaker, like all that stuff. It's like, holy shit, it racks up quick.
Yeah. You just hear the cha-ching in your mind as you're like adding it all up. It's like, oh, this is going to hurt.
Yeah, but we saved quite a bit of money by self-performing a lot of the stuff. Like, I can't remember what the cost was going to be on the paint job for the interior of the building. It was like $7,500, and we were like, holy shit. We got 3 different quotes, and they were right around the same price. And we told all 3 of them, like, we're going to supply the paint, and it's only a 2,400 square foot building, So I figured, $2,000, $3,000, no, like $7,500. We're like, screw that, man. I got a buddy that has access to scissor lifts and heavy equipment and stuff. Like, we'll go rent one of those. We'll visqueen the shit out of it, and you and I will come in here, throw some respirators on, and we'll paint this ourselves. And that's what we did. My stepdad loaned us a little paint sprayer, and like we painted the entire walls, ceiling, everything.
You get it done, man.
Got to get it done. That was my currency time.
Yeah, and that's where it is. It's like, if you can afford to spend the time doing stuff like that, and that's actually something that I'm starting to cross the bridges of now. It was like, I have always been someone to be like, no, I'll just do it myself. Like whether it's website work, like admin, video production and stuff like that. And it's becoming increasingly tough to do everything myself. And the currency of time is becoming harder to give up. And I mean, currency of like actually paying to have somebody help is hard to give up too. But it's like, where do you draw that line as a business owner? Do you draw it like at the pride of saying, oh, I did everything myself? Or do you do it at the, like, oh man, I saved myself like, a whole week by like outsourcing something to a friend who's better at this shit than I am or whatever. Right.
I'm almost at that point right now. So it's funny you bring that up. I'm having that conversation with myself right now.
Yeah.
Because like I went to FabTech, which by the way, missed you this year. We'll talk about that here in a moment, but,
let's do it.
So I think I got like 5 or 6 videos while I was up there. And I got back and it was like, I'm able to release the audio version of it, but I haven't found time to sit down and actually put out the video version of anything just yet. So that's been the hard part is like, shit, man, I've got a buddy that, he's a musician, but he's also involved in a bunch of other stuff. But I found out now that he's doing video editing. So I'm thinking about like giving him a buzz and saying, hey dude, I got like 5 or 6 videos that I need to get, edited and put out on the interwebs if you're interested and see what he's going to charge me for it. Just like you said, you take a lot of pride in doing it yourself, but where's that line to where it's actually costing me more money to do this by myself than it is if I just outsource that, then I can focus on other things.
Yeah, that is a really tricky line to walk, man. It's like we talked about at the beginning of this conversation, like, taking time to screw off and get some, whether you're time with the family, time with, I don't know. It's like, you have to make decisions, like, because there's always something to do. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know. There's like, I could take time to go, jam with some friends, play guitar and stuff, which would be really awesome. Or I really got these emails I got to write and stuff like that. And that's an interesting thing to try and make the call on, which is endless right now for me. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, especially because you do the online program, so you have a lot of correspondence that you personally have to take care of.
Yes. It's honestly nonstop. It's awesome. It's really great. Like working with people in the program, is a thing where I really take a lot of pride in giving them way more support than they had expected, which I find very easy to do. However, it requires a lot of time and responsibility, right? So like, especially as of right now, I'm 3 weeks out from a new batch of students starting. Some of them are stainless, some of them are aluminum. And I connect with them 3 weeks before to, make sure they got all their supplies, make sure that they're good to go. Like, have they reviewed the material? If not, like, can we start with this? So it's like, it's like, even though technically like they're expecting, like I work with people in either a 4-week program or an 8-week program. That's what we booked. But like, I'm already chopping them up, like, a few weeks before to make sure, like, okay, like, are you good? Like, can I help with setup and get you going with introductory exercises in the meantime? And that way, when we start, we kind of hit the ground running. We have material to go off of. And I mean, that I have set some boundaries as far as like checking my phone.
That's the hard part.
It's so hard. But like, yeah, I kind of like, I read all the messages as they usually come in, and then I kind of assess, like, can I get to this tonight? Or do I got to get to it now, kind of thing. But I mean, even on weekends and stuff, like I'll be, at my daughter's soccer practice and my phone's in my pocket, just like buzzing away. And I'm like, nope, don't look, wait. Like I'm on kid time right now, hanging out with family. So yeah, it's very attached to people, but it's attached remotely, which I guess is the interesting part. Mm-hmm. So yeah, on one hand, it's sweet because people get access to me. Like my students can hit me up for questions and help if they're stuck on something or machine problems. And so yeah, I can help out at any time, but that also means I got to help out at any time.
Yeah. So I had to start doing that with myself. Like, just shut the phone off at 8:00 at night. And it's like, okay, if you really needed to get a hold of me, you would have got a hold of me during normal business hours. And I've got to try to remind myself to be able to do that. So sometimes I'll just walk in and, I'll just throw the phone on do not disturb, or just toss it in my room, and then I'll be out there in the living room with the family or whatever. But when I initially started, especially when I took over the podcast, or even when I was doing the stuff with weld.com, people were like always constantly reaching out. They're like, hey, I need help with this. And like, I enjoy helping people. Like, I think that's one of the coolest things, is to be in a position with the knowledge that I have to be able to, give that freely to other people. But there comes a time and it's like, I can't always do this 24/7. There's, I got to set some time limits and stuff.
I think the thing that I've realized, like, yeah, you can set time limits and stuff. But like, as much as you and I want to help people, it never stops.
No, it doesn't.
Like, it never stops. And as, things are, growing with like my brand and stuff, like my Instagram gets busier and my emails get busier. And like, I've basically kind of made 2 or 3 points throughout the week where it's like, okay, I'm going to go into my DMs and I got half hour and I'm just going to fire off voice messages, get people like quick answers real quick. If I have like I have my whole YouTube like catalog on my phone of like categorized.
Okay.
So I'll be like, oh, like, here's a video that I did like a year ago. It applies exactly to your question. Like, check it out. Hit me up if you have any more questions, kind of thing. So, but then it, like you say, a half hour is like, it goes by fast.
Yeah.
and then I got messages coming back from these people. So it's like, it's great. It's a good problem to have, honestly. Like, being able to help people, like you just said, is the best. It is. I'm very fortunate to be able to get connected with so many people. But yeah, I'm at a point where it's like my students have priority for sure of my time. And then like my own kind of stress and mental health is like next priority. And if I'm having a day where I'm just running hot and I'm burned out, like, yeah, I got to make that call, which has been pretty important lately.
Kind of check out.
I went on that trip and then I got stupid COVID and got sick for like a week. And I was just so tired, dude. I felt like trash. And I was like, there's so much to do, but I just can't. So it's got to wait.
Yeah, you got to put your health first. How was that show? Because you went, which one did you go to? Because I think there was 2 of them right around the same time. You went to the Blue Ridge Rock Festival or the Kentucky Thunder? I can't remember what the other one was called.
It was the Kentucky one. It was Louder Than Life.
There you go. Yeah, I know they had that one, and then they had the Blue Ridge Rock Festival, and I think they were like a week or 2 apart or something like that.
Yeah, you're right. And I think Blue Ridge, it got rained out, and it turned into like a freaking Woodstock situation.
Yeah.
from what I understand. It was like a real mess. A bunch of bands canceled, and like everybody got all muddy and pissed off. And yeah, we went to Louisville, Kentucky, which was so cool, dude. Like, and it was a 4-day, essentially like heavy metal festival. And it was just the best time of my life. Like, yeah, we had so much fun. We had an Airbnb pretty close. Kept it pretty bougie. We rocked VIP for the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, dude, it was so fun. I was still like shirt off, left my phone and shit in my locker, and like was raiding like the mosh pit for like Rancid, and like just like it was so fun, man. We just had such a good time. And yeah, it was great. I did work by distance. I was up early every morning to work with students online, and then on the weekends I was editing video. So I got about 3 hours of work done each day, which is pretty good. I still managed to keep things flowing, boiling over. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then the rest of the time was truly unplugged. It was cool. I did have my phone for like Instagram and stuff. I just like, my stories were so fun that whole weekend. Like, we're just like filming everything, being goofs, like just acting like idiots, really, and just like at a huge concert for like 4 days straight and having the best time ever.
Blowing off some steam.
Really was. Yeah, it really was, man. Some of the bands, like, I know you like heavy metal too, but like some of the like the big cool bands that, like, you know, like we saw Pantera.
That was like freaking sick. You sent me the video and I was like, oh shit, I didn't realize, because it was the same week Fab Tech was going on.
Yeah. It was awesome, dude. My friends and I, we like pushed for like 4 hours before their set to get up front. Mm-hmm. And we did it. We got up front. There was like one lady that couldn't see, so I let her in front of me up to the guardrail. But like, we were right there, man. It was like, I mean, obviously without like Dimebag and Vinny, it was the next best thing. It was just the freaking best time of our lives. And like, yeah, that concert. And then there was like so many good up and coming bands too. It was just like, it really was an awesome experience. So
who was your favorite cool performance?
Tough to call, man. I mean, Pantera was great. Rancid was like Pantera and Rancid are like bucket list bands for sure. Mm-hmm. There was like some really great underground metal that we really enjoyed on the side stages. I mean, like I got to see Foo Fighters again. So seeing Dave Grohl in person, like that dude's like my hero.
Was he the original drummer for Nirvana?
He was the main, like, he wasn't the original drummer for Nirvana,
but like the main drummer. Yeah, that's what I thought. So when they blew up, he had just joined as their new drummer. Yeah, and they blew up. And because I remember his first album, he played every instrument himself and did the vocals himself.
Yeah, that was the original Foo Fighters album.
Yeah. Which I'm not a big Foo Fighters fan, but I really respect his talent to be able to go in and do lead guitar, bass guitar, play the drums, do the vocals, like the whole thing.
Yeah, he's a complete, like, just well-rounded musician. Yeah. I've seen Foo Fighters, like you say, they're not like my favorite band in the world, but like I love what they've done, and I love like Dave. Like I have my whole arm is a Nirvana tattoo. Like I love it's like my favorite band of all time. So I've respected everything about that guy, and like seeing Foo Fighters a few times. I saw them with Taylor Hawkins before he died, and like, yeah, it's just fun, dude. Like live music, like, you know, you were at concerts recently, like especially like during COVID, I was like dying inside without live music, man. Like I know that's like a real shitty problem to have, but like, it's like...
No, but I mean, it's a different feel. It's a different vibe. So I just got back from Columbus this afternoon. And I'm heading out tomorrow night Saturday night to go see Jelly Roll in concert.
Oh,
which that'll be kind of cool. So because he's playing with Struggle Jennings and a couple other people.
Oh, cool. So he was just doing shows with Yellow Wolf.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Do you like Yellow Wolf? Have you heard it?
No, I've tried to get into it, and I was like, yeah, I'm just not. That's one of the tracks that if I have it on, because like Jelly Roll before like he got big, I'd heard him do like background vocals on some other stuff. With like Lil White and Struggle Jennings and some other folks, but then he kind of like took off. But I'd hear that on like a specific Spotify channel that I had, and anytime Yellow Wolf came on, I was like, next. I don't know, I just can't get into it.
A lot of people don't. It's the album Ghetto Cowboy is really good. It's more of like kind of country rock.
Okay.
That's one of my favorites for sure. But yeah. I mean, that whole group of dudes are just so talented, so good.
Yeah, they put out some good stuff. So I'm looking forward to it because I think I'd like to see Struggle Jennings. That'd be a good one.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, because I guess he's the stepson of Waylon Jennings. So he was Jesse Coulter's son from a previous marriage.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Or I guess that'd make him his stepdad or step-grand. I looked it up at one point, but it's not like, I thought it was Waylon Jennings' kid, but it's not.
Okay.
Kind of like Hank 3. I mean, he's definitely Hank Williams Jr. the third.
Okay.
He does some pretty cool stuff. Have you, you ever listened to Hank 3?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's a different vibe.
It's different. Yeah. That's kind of why I respect that kind of stuff, because it is different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like his country stuff, but he came out with, I guess he does the country music to fund his punk band. Yeah, he's got a punk band called Ass Jack. I tried to get into it, and I was like, yeah, this isn't hitting it for me. But he sounds just like Hank Sr., which is freaking nuts. Yeah. Well, like his actual Hank 3 albums sounds just like Hank Sr. It's insane.
That's so cool.
But yeah, we're doing prior to that, like I went to a bunch of different live shows. It was I went and seen I don't want to say it on the podcast, but yeah, I went and seen Nickelback, which actually it turned out I had a damn good time at the Nickelback show. They put on a hell of a show.
Yeah, man. I got
surprised.
Free tickets to go see Nickelback like back in their heyday. I don't even remember how we ended up with them, but here in Victoria, they played the arena and we got free tickets and we went and we just got loaded and had the best time ever. It was so fun.
They put on a damn good show. That's I seen Post Malone, so that was a really good one. We were talking about that like leading up to the event. I was impressed. It was a damn good show.
He's like my favorite active musician. Like I would probably say, yeah.
He's super talented.
So talented, man. It's like the best for my life right now. I need Post Malone in my life right now.
Yeah, he puts out some good shit.
Yeah. You saw that before FabTech, was it?
Yeah, it was before FabTech.
Yeah, okay. And how long were you at FabTech? How was it?
I did I got in Sunday. I left early Thursday morning because that was my wife's birthday, and I was like, well, Thursday the show's only half day. Usually by the end of the week I'm like done anyway. So I was like, yeah, I'll just jump on a bird and get home and take her out to dinner and stuff. But the show was good. So this year, instead of doing podcasts on the show floor, which aren't great for audio because everybody's running their automation in the background and the grinders and the pulse spray modes and like you just get all this background noise. Max Saran with the CWB, he booked us a room downstairs and we just kind of shared that space. So his assistant Daniela is just like super, super organized. So she sent me a schedule like probably a month in advance. And she's like, here's all the time slots we're going to utilize. Here's everything else that's open. So feel free to book during any of those times. Also, here's all the times that Max is speaking at other events and stuff like that. So feel free to plug those slots. So, I did, I don't know, I think I recorded like 6 episodes of FabTech in all.
Crazy.
So it was pretty good. But I mean, it was down away from everybody else. So it was really cool. I set up like a little backdrop area. Like I said, I filmed a lot of them. I just got to get the video put out. But yeah, it was freaking dope, man. And then I did like the AWS Arc Stars meetup. We did the Arcs and Ales, the President's Reception. We had the big annual meetup over at Hard Rock Live with Blue Demon, Outlaw Leather, Weld Porn, Fronius, all those guys. So it was a really good experience. I got to meet a lot of new people. I didn't get to walk much of the show floor, so I think when it comes to Orlando next year, I'm going to do something similar, but I'm definitely taking a day to where I can just go walk the show floor and not have to like moderate any panels, not have to do any podcasts, not have to do like anything other than go see some of the cool new technology that's out on the floor, because I really didn't get to do that this time.
I mean, would you even be able to see it all is the other question.
No.
Because like, it's just amazing how much stuff is there and like everything catches my attention. So I want to go
play with everything.
Yeah. Play with everything, ask questions, like get demos, and that shit takes time.
You're right. I might have to book 2 days for that one. Maybe I'll just do 1 day of podcasting and I'll just schedule like 5 or 6 episodes that day and then just chill because I think when it comes to Orlando, it's only going to be a 3-day show. Chicago's a 4-day show because I think that's their biggest show. But yeah, it's going to go Orlando next year, and then after that it'll go to Chicago. Then after that it'll go to Vegas. So, and then I'm hoping and then it'll obviously go back to Chicago. But they haven't determined the 2025 year if it's going to be Orlando or Atlanta. So I'm hoping that they love Orlando so much that they just come back to Orlando.
Yeah,
that'd be cool to get put in the rotation.
Man, I can't wait I'm gonna try I think I'll be able to do it this year or next year, I guess. So
yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to go to Orlando and check it out. So
yeah, come down to the new shop, man. Come on and rip some coupons.
We're gonna do that for sure. Yeah, we'll do some welding. You take me to a range. We'll do some shooting.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah, that would be so fun, man. I would, dude. I'm so excited about that trip. That would be so fun.
You got to come down for a little bit longer, and then we can do some other stuff.
Yeah. We've been talking about something on the side. So yeah, we'll get something going for sure.
Hell yeah. So tell me about the new program you just dropped.
Well, yeah, I mean, like speaking of what we talked about earlier with time investment, that took me 14 months to make. Which
it seems like a long time, but it probably flew by.
Well, I mean, on one hand, yes. On the other hand, no. So I had planned basically like I had my aluminum program. I finished a couple years ago. That program, I guess about a year and a half ago, that program took me 8 months to make. So I kind of had a bit of a game plan about what I wanted to do, how long it was going to take. And then as I'm kind of doing the math on everything, I'm like, oh yeah, I've already done it once. I'm going to be even faster at it. Like I'm going to kick this thing's ass. I'll get it done in 6 months. So I was like, on one hand, I started getting into it. And I think it was like probably a month and a half, 2 months into it before I started to realize like this thing is way bigger than I was anticipating. Not so much in the material that I wanted to put into it, but it was like the job that I wanted to do on it. The quality of it, I filmed a bunch of stuff and then I realized I wasn't happy with it. And I was like, yeah, it was just a bunch of like reshooting, redoing lessons. And just, yeah, it just started to take more and more time. But then I really reached a point where I was like, it takes what it takes at this point. Like, let's just let it happen. Let it become what it's going to become. And yeah, I mean, 14 months later, it's like, I couldn't believe what it turned into because it turned out even better than I was hoping as far as the curriculum, the material included to like help my students. The video production, the ARC footage turned out super, super good. Which again, I filmed all myself with my own gear. And again, there was tons, like I would rip joints and film them one day and it would the footage would turn out super good. And I'd use the same settings and same everything the next day. And I wasn't happy with it for some reason, shit was different. So I had to it was just so many, the pile of coupons that's in here somewhere. It's like a box of just 2x4 stainless coupons. It took me so much welding to finish it, the editing on the video, and then the textbook for it is 250 pages long.
Damn. And you drew all that out yourself.
I did everything myself.
Yeah.
And
that's what's insane.
It's all done in a comic book style. So it's super, it's like the show, on YouTube, it's everything's splashy colors, really kind of moving graphics and animations, and putting that all into a textbook was really a different experience as well. But yeah, 250 pages later, I was.
So your textbook, is it a digital textbook or did you actually make a physical copy of it?
Right now it's digital.
Okay.
Yeah. It's downloaded in. So when you open a module in the program, so let's say the first module in the program after all the intro stuff is gear, or no, I think it'd be safety and materials and cleaning and stuff like that. So you open up that module and then it's safety is the first one for sure. Got to check that box with everybody, make sure they're aware of what they need to be careful of. So they open up this safety one and it's there's a full high quality production video with demonstrations and everything. And then the safety module textbook included there. So they download the PDF textbook, which some chapters is 3 pages. Some chapters it's like 20 something pages, but everything's like kind of compartmentalized so that when they're done safety, then they'll go into like material preparation. And then, they learn about material preparation, get all the visuals. And then from there, it's like, how to clean filler rod, how to prepare, or how to do the layout for the exercises and stuff. And then, it's like it's a lot of like material up front, taking somebody through like that important stuff so that when we get to the actual meat and potatoes of the welding exercises, we have like a bit of a language already established, safeties covered, like everybody's, they should be taking care of themselves with the safety and all that stuff. And and that's all how it's organized. So from start to finish, it's like 30 something video lessons. Like I say, some of the textbook packages in each one are just a few, and some of them are like a ton. But I will be at some point creating a physical textbook.
I was just going to say, you need to like create a physical textbook and publish that shit.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. It's just, there's many things I want to do.
Right. We were just going back to the front of the episode.
Yeah. But so like my biggest project was creating the stainless program. So now I have the stainless program and the aluminum program out and running. Bunch of people gone through each one. And then I have a free, I hesitate to even call it an introductory class because it's actually like a pretty in-depth like class on the aluminum process. And then just as of, tomorrow at the time we're recording this, it'll be out now. I guess when people listen to this, it'll be out, but it's the same thing. It's a stainless steel class. And this one is 45 minutes long, and it's a fully immersive, like TIG welding class that I've taught in person for like years and years, put together in a video format. So it's like a real long-winded way of saying like, yes, the stainless steel program is out.
Okay. But so even though you start off at the basics, that could be a very for folks that haven't done stainless, you could pick up that copy and just start kind of working through that program and learn from beginning to end. Cause like you said, you cover safety up front, which is very rudimentary for people that are just getting into it. You always want to touch on safety, but then you go over material prep. And that's one thing, even a lot of advanced welders, they don't really know how to clean their freaking material. I get that issue all the time when I'm training students. They're like, I don't understand why it's not coming out like yours is, Mr. Becker. It's like, well, did you clean it? Well, no, I didn't have time for that. I wanted to get into the welding part. And it's like, that's why it's not turning out like mine. Because remember, during the demo, I took the time to go through and wipe it down with acetone, clean the filler metal, make sure I had a sharp tungsten. Goes, what's your tungsten look like? Oh, yeah, okay, that's nasty, bud. You're going to get a really unstable arc.
It's interesting. Like, I've kind of prided myself on focusing on a lot of the fundamentals. And because I don't know, maybe you had a similar experience. When I went to welding school, like hardly any of the fundamental stuff was really covered.
Barely.
You're kind of just thrown into the deep end, and you make it work and you do your certifications and whatnot. But my thing is to support people who have a passion or an interest in welding and take them from square one to, a very competent level of and confident level of they know what they're doing after a while. And some people use it professionally to get better positions at their jobs. I've helped many people do that. I've helped people start their own businesses. But also a lot of hobbyists, man. Like that's one thing that I've really seen. There's not a lot of support for people who they don't want to get super professional or crazy about it. They just want to learn how to fix shit around the house or build some cool things. And I think that's something that I've really enjoyed working with, is helping people find that it's been very accessible for people who have had little to no experience, which has been a really, really fun thing for me.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. This segment of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by Workbench Pros. Right now, Workbench Pros is running an end-of-the-year special on strong hand tool tables and fixturing kits. Now through the end of the year, you can get 5% off and get free shipping on Build Pro Alpha tables. and 10% off Build Pro Max tables and fixturing kits, including my favorite table for the at-home fabricator and small business, the Rhino Cart. Do you have any idea how much shipping costs right now? It's nuts, so save some money while you can and treat yourself this year with a new table and some fixturing tools from BuildPro.com. We're also brought to you by Everlast Welders. After several years of research, customer input, and technological design work, Everlast has developed and released their new top-tier Typhoon class of TIG and stick welders. Designed to compete head-to-head with the next generation of elite AC and DC TIG and stick welding machines. The Typhoon 230 offers one of the best combinations of features and specifications for true next-level performance. It runs off 110 and 230 volt, it features AC and DC TIG welding, and it has 5 AC waveforms to choose from, including the all-new industry-first trapezoid. Check out all the great features at everlastwelders.com, and be sure to use Arc Junkies in the comment section at checkout to get that free Nova foot pedal and TIG torch upgrade when you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal. Everlast Welders. Weld mean, weld green. Now let's get back to the show. That's been the cool part about the school too, because you get people in, like you said, from all walks of life. I had, so the last week-long comprehensive class, I had one student who she had taken formal welding training, and she wanted to increase her skill set to start applying for jobs when she got back, because she went through a pretty decent school, but they never really got into the TIG portion. So she was really looking forward to the TIG welding. So we went through the steel, the stainless, and the aluminum. But then the other gentleman that I had, he was like, I think he was like 69 years old. And he came in because he's like retired now, and he's an avid hunter. And he's like, I want to start building dog boxes for my pickup truck and my side-by-side and this, that, and everything. So we ripped through, stick, MIG, TIG, flux core, the whole deal. But then, all the stuff he wanted to learn. And then it got down to the point where he's like, okay, how he started asking me all these questions about dog boxes. And I was like, okay, what are you building it out of? He's like, well, I'm going to do, like a big aluminum plate screwed into the top and this, that, and everything. But the frame's going to be all like conduit, like electrical conduit. And I was like, I actually have some conduit. So like I went in and I cut up like 9-10 pieces of conduit, and we just built like this, small, kind of like a mock-up of, how he was planning on doing this over at the house. So I was like, okay, cool. We cut them into little 1-foot pieces and made like this 18 by 18 or 18 by 12 box, and then just walked over to the vise, crimped the ends, and I showed him exactly, how to weld these things out based off of the machine that he was anticipating on getting, the type of wire that I recommended to him, like the whole 9 yards. So he was able to practice for, a couple hours doing exactly what he wanted to, learn in the first place. So that's the cool thing, to have the freedom to say, hey, Dusty, what do you want to work on? What do you want to do when you complete this class? Okay, cool. Let me go get some material, and we'll actually set up like a little mock deal of what you want to do.
That's like the perfect scenario for a student, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I got to say, like, I did enjoy school immensely. But like, dude, 85% of it is shit I'm never, ever going to use. Like, a lot of it I did end up using, but like, if you're a student, especially like you or I, like we have families and stuff, right? Like, you don't really have the luxury of just screwing off and going to school for 6 months. Like, it's, so a lot of people, when they take training, they want to make it count, and they want to get the value out of it where it can become something that applies to something that they'll use. So yeah, you're like that. That's the perfect example. Like, if you catch wind of a project that they have, daydreamed or like wanted to do, like, not only are you giving them training, but like you're legitimately like giving them a skill that, I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, like could change the path of their life to have this skill or this, this new tool in their mental tool belt of like, that's the coolest thing, man. And that's the cool thing about the time that we live in. Cause like, when I went to school, like that wasn't the case. It was like, I'm there to do certs. I'm there to pass tests. I'm there to get my apprenticeship and like, get my hours and stuff. And it was kind of up to me. It was like, if I wanted to fuck around and like make a rack for my truck or something, I had to research it on my own and like practice on my own. Whereas like someone like, especially your school, dude, like that is just the coolest thing. Like it's so rad that like somebody with no experience and somebody who's just got a passion for trying out welding can go to a place like that and like be exposed to it, meet like real professionals, get some real good advice, and then like, use it for exactly what they want to use it for. That's amazing nowadays.
Yeah. And the cool thing was that he was like, hey, can you recommend a machine? And so I was like, yeah, I mean, for exactly what you're doing, like, you know, the titanium or the Vulcan line over at Harbor Freight is going to be ideal for what you're going to do. It's got a 1-year warranty on it. The great thing about it is if it takes a shit on a Friday night or whatever, you can just walk in and say, hey, this thing doesn't work anymore. They'll give you a brand new one. You know, whereas if you bought a different machine, you know, like one of the name brands or different colors or whatever, you're going to have to wait on a warranty replacement. You got to wait till Monday morning when the supplier, you know, starts regular business hours again. But you get one of these things for what he's doing. I was like, dude, you can buy all your contact tips there, your wires, your nozzles. So you can walk in on a Saturday and get everything you need. You know, so go with that. So he figured that out, and then he wanted the spool gun attachment, which they make a spool gun attachment for. So I had him ripping out, you know, coupons on the spool gun at the school just to kind of get him used to it until he could accumulate all the tooling and stuff that he needed, because he had to call a couple different Harbor Freights to get it all located. And then I was like, hey, once you get all the shit that you need, if you're running into problems, like, just bring your machine in. You know, schedule a day. You know, just walk in. I'll work with you for free. You know, I've got the gas here. We got the wire. We got the coupons. Just bring your equipment back in, and, you know, I'll show you exactly how to do it on your machine. Or just send me a video of, you know, the outcome and let me know what you're trying to do, and I can help you remotely, you know?
Dude, that's the best setup for somebody. Like, it couldn't be any better.
Yeah.
You like, the machines aren't even expensive anymore. I
No,
mean,
you can get a Vulcan that's like multi-process.
If you want to get crazy, and you can spend a shitload if you want, but like, yeah, you don't have, it's not that expensive anymore. The access to materials and supplies, like you say, like, I mean, up here in Canada, we have a couple different department stores and stuff, but like, it's just crazy. You can go get fully set up and be buzzing away, you know, whether it's serious work, like, or just stuff you just want to tinker with. Like, I think that's something that I've connected with a lot online, is like, I've had a lot of people through my programs who are retired or whatever. And like, you know, they're just looking to pick up a new skill. They got like, you know, they want to make some bird houses and fix some shit around the house or something.
Mm-hmm. Fix the old lawnmower deck.
Yeah, exactly. So
weld a little part on my John boat. Yeah.
It's kind of like the best thing is being able to like work with these people. And then when we get into the program, like we'll reach a level of like certain understanding. And then, you know, I love approaching people about like, hey, you know, we got 3 weeks left in the program. Like, what kind of stuff are you hoping to transition to as far as like projects you want to be doing and stuff? And like you said, man, we'll come up with like exact exercises and get them going on exactly what they want. So it's like they get the experience of like actual training, and then once the understanding and like a foundation of like, you know, basics is built, like, let's just do whatever, like whatever you feel like, which is awesome. It's like people can get set up easy and find something that applies to them really, really well.
That's kind of when I was teaching at the school, that's what we did like the last 3 to 4 weeks. You know, we'd already ran through stick, MIG, TIG, flux core, but I mean, they were all there for an occupation. So I would, you know, the last couple of weeks of school be like, okay, now that you understand how to cut, weld, grind, cope, fit, all this good stuff, what industry do you want to get into? Well, you know, I'd really like to get into this aerospace company that came in and gave a presentation that, you know, they're looking at hiring people. Okay, cool. So you need to do some thin wall tubing. So we go get thin wall tubing out of the back, get them all dialed in, start welding those out. You know, I want to go work over at Mitsubishi. Okay, we'll go grab the Inconel. We'll do some open root welding, you know, with a purge backing. What do you want to do? Oh, I want to get into, I'm thinking about going to the ironworkers. Cool. Go grab some 3/8 plates, put some bevels on there. Let's practice on your test, because they're going to test you when you come in. Or that's going to be part of your training. You know, I want to go to the pipe fitters. Okay, well, you know, go grab a couple, you know, 6-inch Schedule 40s, get them all cleaned up, tacked up, ready to go. We'll work on that a little bit. So the last, you know, month, it's specifically based on the area of the industry that they want to get into.
Which is so like beneficial for somebody who's, I mean, time and money has got to be spent to be there. And so if you want to make the most of it, like they're getting the most of it, which is great. So, and especially a dude like you, like you've kind of tried and done everything. Like there's still lots, I imagine, but like you've got a shitload of experience. It's like somebody can come pick your brain about like exactly like you say, like, hey, I'm thinking about getting into this or that. And, you know, you're like the perfect dude to be like, oh, I got the exercise for you, or I got the material that'll help you out. Like that's the best, dude. Because when I went to school, it was like, they didn't give a shit what you were doing. It was like, this is the curriculum. These are our testing days. You know, you got X amount of exams to write.
It's so rigid.
It's so rigid.
You don't have to teach welding like that. I mean, like you do if you're, like I could see if you're one of those for-profit institutes or whatever, that they have a very specific short-term welder training to train you up specifically to go into the pipe field or specifically to get into ironwork. But if you're just coming in, you know jack shit about welding and you want to make a career out of it, like let's go through all the different processes. Let's mess around with them, find out which one you kind of gravitate to, and then let me kind of like help and support and guide you that way. You know, but I mean, that's the only way you're going to get experience. But I think I kind of lucked out, you know, because I just got to move around quite a bit within the industry. The only area that I never really got into was pipe welding, but I know enough pipe welders out there that I can call up, you know, and say, hey, you know, like, how would I go about doing this? Or, you know, if somebody asks me a question, I know exactly who to refer them to.
Yeah. I mean, you're the king of like being connected in the welding world. It's crazy.
Oh, I love linking people up.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy hanging out with you in person at FabTech last year because like we couldn't walk 12 feet without somebody running up to you and like just like it's like someone from this industry or that industry or you know someone. Yeah, it was crazy. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was kind of neat. So I went up last weekend to do the Fabricator Olympics at Kevin Johnson's shop, which was a freaking awesome event, by the way. But even people up there, like, they were like, oh, yeah, hey, man, love the show, this, that, and everything. Or, you know, I saw you on weld.com. Are you that guy from weld.com? Or, like, you know, whatever. It's really neat. But then I went to the automation conference up in Columbus for AWS. And I was like, okay, cool. Nobody's going to recognize me here. I can just sit back and enjoy the class. Not that it's an interruption or anything, but I had, like, 4 or 5 people there that, like, hey, you're that guy. And I was like, oh, yeah. It's weird. But, you know, like, it's really cool that, you know, I can be utilized as a resource. And like I said, you and I both like to help people and give back. And we've talked about this several times via, you know, text message or, you know, WhatsApp voice message and stuff. We enjoy teaching people and helping them connect those dots and being a resource for them. And that's what it's all about. We're at a point in our careers where it's time for us to kind of give back and mentor other people, or at least provide them with the resources that they need to avoid the same pitfalls we did when we were coming up.
Yeah. And like, as you do so, if you're teaching people stuff that you know, like the back of your hand, do you find that like all of a sudden you're learning even more about it somehow? Like teaching it?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's like you know, I've done it for years. I did production welding for fucking 20 years. And like, and then you start teaching some of that stuff, and it's just even the act of teaching it, and you know the stuff, but you need to like put it together in a way somebody can learn. It's really cool, like next level of like a profession that, you know, you thought you had reached maximum knowledge, right? And then like all of a sudden there's so much more to learn, which is honestly like since I started doing my YouTube episodes, man, like the more I do, the more I realize like there's so much more out there for me to learn. And like both with like you know, the way I present it and put like, you know, lessons together. Like the, you know, my free classes, my aluminum one I did like 3 months ago, and then the stainless one I just released. Even the time between those, like I've learned so much about like how to present something, and you know, the speed at which you grow as a educator or you know, someone who specializes in the presentation of it is pretty crazy. But I also realized like even the profession of TIG welding, which I did professionally, is like there's still so much that I can learn. And you know, people in the comments, like as much as I have a love mostly hate relationship with comments, it's you know, there's people who'll be like, you know, hey, the way you did this is not right. Like, this is how you do it. And I'd be like, okay, well, I'm kind of interested. Like, what do you mean? Like, and then I'll like try something, or like, you know, learn something about a way I hadn't done it before, or like, you know, some information that I hadn't really heard presented in a certain way, which kind of, you know, might change the way I think about something. Like it's almost like the more I do to put out my show, the more I learn, and the more I realize I don't actually know a whole lot. It's like I'm truly humbled by like how awesome this trade is and how much there is to learn. And then as I start to get more and more of a following online, like I present that stuff to people as, I just learned this, or like, let's do this exercise where I can show you how to do something that I never really knew how to describe before. And
Yeah,
like that's a pretty cool thing about the trade of welding, is like you can legitimately make yourself a student. And this is kind of the theme of our podcast. I think it all comes back to, like, each time we meet up is like, you become a student of whatever it is you're doing, no matter what skill level you're at.
yeah. I've said it probably ad nauseum on this show, so people are going to get sick of it at some point. Maybe I'll put it on a t-shirt. I don't know. The more I learn about welding, the more I realize I don't know shit about welding. And it's true, dude. And especially because, like, you're filming it, so that was a cool thing about watching the film when I was doing videos for YouTube a while back, is you go back and watch that film and you look at that arc shot and you're like, holy shit, because people don't realize that camera picks up things you cannot see with your human eye underneath the welding hood. So you're actually seeing that arc wander, or, the spatter, or whatever's going on, whatever process you're running. You get to see that at such a high definition rate, and then you can slow it down and actually see what's taking place. And you're like, oh shit, now that I can see that, I can adjust my technique and completely avoid that. There's just so many things. We'd put shit out on YouTube and people would be like, oh, like, this is all screwed up and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, bud, I get that. But you're looking at it in 4K. I can see it in 2020. You're watching it in 4K. There's a big difference between what you can actually see when you're under a hood and what you can see through that camera lens. So just having that ability to look at things in that camera lens, or like same thing when you did your heat effective zone video, being able to show that. And I mean, that's probably what brought that on, was being able to see that at such a high def, rate, to be able to look at things. You start analyzing things a little bit different.
And like teaching people, like teaching people stainless over and over, you see things about like, oh, like on this joint in particular, like there's always this funny thing happening with the heat affected zone. Like, why is that? And it's like, I only saw that and only learned about it because I worked with people so much teaching them. And then from there, it's like, well, why does this happen? And then you go into the thinking process behind what you're teaching, and you're like, oh shit, like there's another unlock. And and it's like, I don't know, man. It's like, I think that's a healthy viewpoint to have too, of like, I'm constantly just wandering around like a student, just as much as people that might be watching my stuff. Like I'm always hungry for more knowledge. I always appreciate people who like communicate well enough to like help me learn something. Like I don't know. Maybe it's like the exposure. Like we just have more people in touch with us, like sharing things, and like it's I don't know. It's interesting.
It could be it.
And then you get like shitty comments too, where it's like, no, I'm sorry, that's not right.
Yeah, you got to just work past those. That was the hard part, when I'd go back and I'd get like 100 comments and be like, oh, cool, man. Like everybody's enjoying it. It's helping out a lot of people. And then you get that one dickhead that just said something, and it's the only comment you can focus on. It's like, I can't let it get to me.
Yeah. My thing was always like, well, is he right? Like, maybe I should go try it that way. And then like, I was always, like I say, I was like eager to try things and learn. And I have somebody tell me something, I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But then a lot of it, you're like, oh no, that dude was wrong.
Oh yeah. There was one dude that he got in an argument with me over, he's like, oh, I spray it with 75-25 all the time. And I'm like, no, you don't, because it's scientifically impossible. I'm not passing out my opinion here, bud. Like, I've talked to legit metallurgists and people that test filler metals, people that test gases, and they've all told me that it is physically impossible to get into a spray transfer using 75% argon, 25% CO2. That's why we bump it up to like an 82 or higher argon composition. Then we can get into a spray. No, you're full of shit. We do spray all the time at work with 75-25. You don't.
Or if you do, I bet it turns out great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's an interesting world to live in, because before it was so, working in production is like, okay, I'm following drawings, following procedures with like, products and cleaning. Every 6 months, I got to renew some kind of cert. it's very by the book, and it's very, you learn what you need to when you need to, which is great. And again, I have nothing but like so much love for like the traditional welding school, like education system. But there's more out there. And I find like as a business owner, like you have to educate yourself a lot. And like, yeah, I mean, the more you do it, the better your product and your service becomes. Like you're going to be able to help more people out with, anything they come in the door to your school looking to learn or hoping to like get connected on. And like for me, likewise, like I educate and I present this stuff. So it's like, I've even done videos, man, where I've like, I reference a video I did a year before and I'm like, hey, remember this video? Like I actually have learned something different. I like whether it was like a different way to describe it, or I felt like I didn't describe it clear enough, or like I had some people in the comments, like maybe change my mind about like, certain, like whatever. Right. Like I love even showing, like doing an episode and being like, hey, like, I found something new out about something I did like a year ago, and here's the new version of it. And like I've even done videos on like things I've screwed up and like critiquing my own work and like showing about like why something failed or why, like I've talked about failing welding tests so much and people are like, what? Like, what do you like? You failed a test? And it's like, well, fucking of course.
Well, yeah,
like, everybody fails.
Part of the learning.
It's like, what are you talking about? Like, and I think that's also like the online culture is like, everything's got to be perfect or else you're going to get dragged online. And like, people are so quick to like call out anything that's not, super awesome. And I think I love showing people that I'm still learning. I'm still a student. I've failed tests. Like I had projects at work that got like, like NDAs and stuff. And it's like the amount of time I've spent in the trade, the amount of stuff I can pass on to people of like, hey, I failed this test, so you don't have to, because I'm going to tell you like what happened and why, and like, what to be aware of. And I would have killed for that when I was learning.
Oh, right. For 100%. Like, that's all the feedback I got was, when I was going through welding school was it failed. Okay, well, fuck, how do I fix it? How do I improve on it? Do another one. Okay, I'm just going to keep failing until I get it right. And I mean, that's what ended up happening. But I mean, when I tell people, it's like, yeah, dude, I failed the 3G stick test, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 times until they're like, you failed a test? Yeah, it's part of the fucking learning process. Nobody gets it right 100% of the time, every time. I get kids that, because I'll do test work now. And prior to me showing up, their instructors make them pass visual and pass a bend test twice before they get their name on the board to test. And I'll show up and some of them will still fail, even though they consistently did it right twice. They may not be on their game that night, or something might happen, or something didn't sink in. They got lucky twice. And this time they didn't, plan out their bead sequence, or they didn't clean well enough in between passes, or like something happens. But I can give them feedback. That's the cool part about like what I like to do as an inspector is say, this is what failed. Here's why it failed. And here's what you can do to fix it next time. I mean, they tell you you're not supposed to give out information and tell people how to correct that stuff, but like, screw that. At the end of the day, these kids are going off to, weld on frickin' bridges that my family and I are going to be driving across. They're going to be welding cars together that I'm going to be riding in. They're going to be putting amusement park rides together that, hopefully I'll get to ride on a roller coaster one day welded by one of my students. I want them to know what the hell they need to do to avoid the same failures. So I'm going to give them feedback. Yeah, as a good educator should. Yeah. Yeah, you don't keep shit to yourself. You grow the community, man. Like exactly. Like I've heard from many people who would not have gotten into welding otherwise had they not found your podcast or my show or something. And I think that's a very powerful thing. And I feel an obligation to pass on everything I can. And yeah, it's a rewarding thing too. It feels good. No, it definitely does. Especially like at the end of the day, like I can sleep well at night knowing that, I've helped somebody. Yeah. Yeah. I've got some really cool messages lately from people who have had some pretty cool stories happen in their life of, especially during COVID, like people lost their jobs and stuff and they needed to do a career change or get, something set up for their own business at home. And it's like people really
took information, whether it was from, YouTube or whatever, and use it to do something pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is a very cool thing about the time we live in. So it's like I started welding in 2002 or 2003, and there's no way. Like back then, it's like there was nothing. YouTube didn't even exist at the time. So.
No, internet barely existed. It was still in its infancy. You couldn't even get internet on your phone right around that time. Yeah, because I think 03, 04 was like right around the time that you could start slowly getting some internet versions of websites on your phone. So there's that information was never there. That's why I think it's cool that like you can do the videos, I can do the podcast. There's other people out there that are doing YouTube shorts and Instagram reels to show and teach and pass this information on, because a lot of the kids, they're not getting it at welding school. Their instructors either don't have the experience, the time, or the patience, or the budget, or whatever the case may be. So a lot of folks that are going through welding schools, they rely on the stuff, the information that we're putting out.
Yeah, which I love. I think that's so cool because, traditional welding education and stuff has certainly, had a big place in like where I came from in the industry and my production welding. But like there's 16-year-old kids, in their class fucking around watching stuff on Instagram or TikTok that are going to find a welding video or like, a metal sculpture or it's like just some application of what we do, who are going to, go down the rabbit hole, and they're going to like, be like, man, this welding stuff is pretty cool. Maybe I'll take a shop class, or like that's that opportunity is in the palm of your hand. Like my kids, they're going to find shit that they become interested in on their phones. And like, I don't know, man, it's just cool. It's really cool. It's cool to be able to like help people and then help them on different levels too. Like the YouTube show, I've got I have over 300 episodes now, which I've done 100% by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've given away so many free textbook pages. I've given away, like I have 2 free programs that people can take. And then I have like fully blown like curriculums with complete textbooks and like, a fully like inclusive, like quote unquote, if you want to call it coaching or instruction or whatever, like there's something there for everybody, no matter what the interest is. If it's somebody like I'm starting with someone in 2 weeks who's making a massive career change, and we're kind of doing like the mentoring, like we're planning out what steps he needs to take and like what testing he's going to need and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, so you can have like a super involved level of support system for somebody as an instructor, or you can just help some dude like mow the handle back on the lawnmower, or like make birdhouses or make a mailbox or something like that, which is great. It's the best.
Yeah. My only hope is like the people that are getting all this information and knowledge from all these different resources, that they're willing to take that information and then pass it on to the next generation when we're not around. Because eventually, that's why I'm so willing to share all this shit that I know, is I'm not going to be here forever. And a lot of my mentors, like they're trying to brain dump stuff on me because they know that they're not going to be here forever. So we got to keep paying it forward and passing that information off to the next generation. And, hopefully that generation transpires it to the following. It just creates a vicious cycle of better educated welders.
Yeah, that's a big thing, man. You have the chance to play a part in passing it on down the line, which then will get passed on down the line, hopefully after that. And I've had people hit me up who are like, I want to do a YouTube welding show, and I want to do online courses and teach people how to weld online. And I'm like, cool. How can I help you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like there's no competition.
Right.
It's like nothing like that, man. Like I want everybody to win, and anything I can do to help someone out, like I would love to, man. I've made some really good friends in the industry who are essentially doing the same thing that I am. And, actually going to Fab Tech last year was cool because I got to meet like a few of them in person. And it was like, I was just so stoked to meet all these people. And like, we're in different businesses that, I guess do the same thing, but there's no competition. It's like, a trade that I deeply, passionately want to support and grow. And like anybody who's doing the same thing or like going with me at the same pace that I'm going, like, yeah, the more the merrier. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's just more resources for people, which is exactly what this industry needs. I mean, we need welding. We need welders. Everywhere you look, everything you touch, interact with on a daily basis, it's welded. And we're not getting enough people in it. So if, somebody gets inspired to get into welding because, they watched one of your TikTok videos or something while they're scrolling, doing the death scroll all night, that's freaking awesome. If somebody like stumbles upon the podcast or any of the YouTube channels and they decide to get into welding because of that, that's what we need. That's what, this trade needs. We're losing welders at a rapid rate. And like I said, I just got back from the automation conference. I talked to the whole key takeaway from pretty much every presentation that was out there is these robots aren't taking anybody's job. Like everybody, and they're automation speakers talking to people that are interested in automation. They're not talking to like regular welders. So they're not trying to reassure anybody or soften the blow. But they were saying like these machines that are coming in here, they're not replacing welders. They're making welders' lives easier. And now I can take that welder and put them on something more complicated and get them away from the mundane BS that's really making a lot of money. But, we're losing a lot of guys because they don't want to sit under the hood and weld the same damn part 8-10 hours a day,
Things like that are going to create opportunities for people to expand the industry.
Oh, for sure.
Because like you say, like whether it's taking away some mundane, weldment that somebody has to do, that then frees somebody up to innovate in the industry in a different way. Whether it's, getting more knowledge and learning different processes that they otherwise would not have been able to do, or become a teacher or like teach people or like, I don't know, man, it's interesting to see how like automation and robotics and stuff is playing a part in so many industries. And I mean, maybe I'm just I'm definitely a pretty like overly optimistic dude, but like, I don't know, man, like growth of an industry does excite me. And like a robot's not going to be able to do a shitload of really, finesse welding jobs. Like it's just not possible. There's a lot that they have a place for in the industry, but like, I don't know, man, it's cool to think about how things could change with that innovation that comes inevitably over time, right?
Yes.
We saw like, dude, some of the robot welding that you could see on the floor at FabTech was just mind blowing.
Oh, some of the capabilities are ridiculous, but I mean, it's just another tool in the toolbox. I mean, we're not running hand crank drills anymore. We're not running, most of the people, you got a wire brush. Okay, cool. Well, I got a 4.5-inch wheel I can throw on a grinder and get it done, make it look better. You don't have to use a wire brush anymore. So use this wire wheel. It's a new advanced tool. It's a new way of doing things. So I don't see it being the end of a skilled trade set. I mean, it's we're going to need people to program them. But I would honestly like to see somebody like you or Ivan Ilar or Ray Ripple or not blanking on so many different names right now, like an artist, a welding artist, get a hold of one of these cobots and just see what you could do with it.
That'd be so fun.
Just draw a photo, a picture, whatever, do weld metal build up. And I mean, the sky's the limit with these things. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh man. If I had the room and time to play around with stuff like that.
Dude,
so
cool. They don't take up much space. The new cobots. I mean, the tables are like 3 foot by 4 foot. I mean, wow, they're mounting them on a like a strong hand rhino cart, which that's what I use in my garage to do all my welding now. So I mean, all you'd have to do, the welding machine sits underneath the cart, and then the arm sits on top of it, and you just load parts in front of it, and you grab the head and point and click and set points and travel speeds and voltages, and so I mean, you have to know what you're doing when it comes to welding. But it'd be kind of cool to see in the hands of an artist what could you do with that thing.
Yeah, like you say, it's just another tool or another. Something at your disposal to use, professionally or otherwise. And I don't know, even like with welding, like when I started doing my art with it, I learned more about welding trying to do artistic stuff. Like it was like I spent so many years learning the rules, following the rules, mastering the rules, teaching the rules, and then to take it to the next level of trying to kind of break those rules and do wild, crazy art stuff with it. Like that show, Metal Shop Masters, like that was so refreshing for me to see. I think like there's such an interest in that in the welding community. Like I hear from a lot of people that are like really inspired by like some art that they've seen, or like they want to get into some sculpture thing. And I'm amazed at how many people have a real interest in that. I think that's amazing. And yeah, like we've talked about, whether it's professional or just hobby or exploring the possibilities of something like that, it's all good for the trade. It's all good for progress for it and innovation, which is great. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's awesome. It's
the next 20 years are going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, hell, dude, before we get out of here, why don't you tell people, I mean, I'm sure they know where to find you, but tell them where they can find you. Tell them where they can find your new stainless program and then the aluminum program you got. Yeah.
So everything is on pacificarctigwelding.com. And I'm sure we'll probably do show notes and links and all that. Yeah. So like, that's kind of the main hub for everything program related. Like I said, there's 2 free classes, and these are fully blown classes, one for aluminum, one for stainless. And they're geared for people with zero experience. Like you don't even have to have a machine, like just watch it and start learning like what you need to get up and running with basic exercises. And then also on the website, there is tons of information on the fully blown programs. Those are full curriculums. And then obviously my YouTube, Pacific Arc Tig Welding, is it's a little bit of everything. There's tutorials, there's fun projects, there's me goofing around, putting, stuff together and making art projects and doing welding drills and stuff. It's like, yeah, like either one's a great place. If anybody's like looking to get going with TIG welding, like it's, there's lots of things I want to provide, and hope that people check out.
Cool, man. As always, it's a pleasure having you on the show. I'm sure we're going to chat some more in between now and your trip to Australia, and probably even while you're down there. Send me some pictures. I want to see a kangaroo, damn it. But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming out to the show and chatting with you.
Oh, dude, my pleasure, man. You're the best. I love hanging out.
Likewise. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this week's episode. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Be sure to check out Dusty's YouTube channel and his free stainless class. The links are in the show notes below. I hope y'all have a great rest of your week. Stay safe out there, and until next time, make every weld better than your last.